Hi and welcome to another episode of Straight Out of Camera, proudly sponsored by Fujifilm South Africa. Joining me live in studio today is Managing Editor of TechSmart.co.za, Mike Hubert. Mike, welcome.
Eslie, how are you?
I'm very well, Mike. So today we're chatting about commercial photography. And Mike, what is important to distinguish yourself from other commercial photographers in this industry?
Well, I think definitely having your own style, that's one thing. Our guest today is Andre Barnos. He's well known for shooting amazing covers. He's shot SOOC Eslie and a number of other bands and covers for magazines. One of the things that he does really, really well is he knows lighting. He loves lighting. He knows exactly what to do with presenting a lighting setup. So yes, paying attention to lighting or color, definitely paying attention to your subject matter for sure. And then of course also knowing your client. That's extremely important, but we'll chat to him a little bit later.
Looking at the current sort of images on Instagram, especially in the commercial field, it feels that it's very similar in regard. And like you said, Andre is different in the sense that he produces lighting. But how much of an influence do you think is creativity in the sense of experiences that you might have had in the past getting you to something? I mean, you look at his Jack Sparrow CD cover, for example, and I'm sure we're going to mention that quite regularly today. But there's a lot of creative process and thinking and planning that was sort of the emphasis from the beginning.
Well, it depends on client, I suppose. You know, you can be as creative as you want to be, but you work within a restriction of what the client presents to you. And not many allow you that much creative freedom without or outside the box. So yes, it depends on client, but obviously I think a number of amazing photographers are just brilliant when it comes to creativity. So yes, I think you must have a little bit of a creative background if you want to shoot good photography.
Brandlive.ca.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Brand Live.
No doubt.
Have you ever thought about the power of social media? Social media has the power to make your business grow. Grow! Yeah. Why don't you let us manage your social media? Because our business is to see your business grow. Visit us at www.bstownmedia.co.za.
Our guest today is Andre Barnos, certainly one of the best photographers shooting in South Africa today. Known for elaborate shoots, amazing medium format photography, and then photographing actually amazing people too. Andre has shot SOOC Eslie, guys like Jack Sparrow, as well as the Blood Brothers. Andre, welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So, looking at your photography, it's elaborate. It's very much a big production almost. Where do you come up with your concepts?
Well, it's a whole process. Obviously the client will be in touch with us. We start working. I think the main thing is kind of understanding their brand first. And then we start brainstorming ideas, do a couple of pictures, look and feels, and we kind of decide from there. I obviously have an amazing team that I work with. My business partner, Maritza Bartman, she designs all our sets, and she's also got a fashion design background. So she's an amazing stylist, you know. So we just gel together, and that's kind of how we go about things.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty.
All right.
Going from APS-C sensor size to medium format, that's actually quite a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I never shot APS-C, so I went from full frame to medium format. And as a young photographer, it was always a dream for me to one day shoot medium format, and thanks to Fujifilm, it's now possible at an affordable rate. If you look at other brands out there, it's just shooting medium format was kind of impossible. It's way too expensive. And for the type of work I do, obviously shooting sets and all those types of things, there's a lot of detail in the images, and it's just a perfect blend, shooting medium format. Yeah, I can't be happier.
In regards to what you need to look out for when shooting medium format?
Little things like your depth of field, is slightly different to shooting, quite a lot different to APS-C, but it's way shallower, little things like that. But I must say, for me, shooting medium format before GFX, it was a bit of a struggle, because these are bulky cameras, they're heavy, you can't shoot out of your hand, and with the GFX, that whole game changed. I'm now shooting medium format straight out of my hand. It feels like a DSLR I'm working with, A lot of the brands only had one focusing point on medium format, which just sounds so ridiculous. And I'm not too sure, even on the GFX, I think it's 64 or even more than that. So it's just an incredible camera to work with.
So you an 80s baby, and we had your friend Ross Maxwell only talk great things about you when he was on our podcast. Is there anything that you could remember from stuff that you viewed in the 80s? I mean, MTV was just starting in the 90s when we were growing up as teenagers. Music videos were becoming very sort of strange, and in their sort of production style, there was a lot of alternative happening there. Is there something that happened that you viewed one day on TV that changed your life tremendously?
Not really. I think I grew up as a skateboarder. Okay. And the whole skateboarding culture obviously influenced me. Till this day, I still skateboard, and I think it's taught me so many things about life. If you don't commit to something, you're going to fail at it. Those types of little things, and just the skateboarding culture alone, it's almost like a family, and it teaches you to do things on your own terms. And I think that you can kind of see in my work.
But it's also interesting to see how the MTV kind of like evolved from fairly rudimental videos through to amazing, beautiful productions, and think of the starting videos and where it ended up eventually, where we are now.
Yeah.
Andre, looking at the work that you've done with artists, recently I saw the Jack Barrow CD cover, and I mean there's AK-47s flying in the air. What is the process on acquiring the client, or such a high-profile client, and then executing an idea to them, which they approve? And tell us how that sort of story builds.
With Barrow, it was really easy. He's got such an established brand, and I got to work with Marchant. He designs all Barrow's album covers and does all these illustrations. So he understands his brand very well, and he was the art director on the shoot as well. So that made things so much easier from a concept point of view. He actually, I think on the album cover, there's a shrine that was built, and Marchant actually built that shrine. So it's all, and there's little hidden things that you can relate to Barrow. It's almost like tongue in the cheek type of vibe. But yeah, I think it all comes down to just really understanding the brand. Yeah.
Okay, so let's chat about difficult clients. Have you ever had a few, and how do you deal with them?
Look, I think on big productions, it can get a bit hectic, where you have client and quite a big crew, like looking over your shoulder. I think it all comes down to confidence and kind of just educating the client as to how far you can take the shoot and what is not possible.
Yeah.
I think a lot of clients, obviously, they want the best for their brands. They want next level images, but the budget might not allow things like that. And it all comes down to just saying, listen, this unfortunately can't happen for this budget, and giving them reasons. And it's just kind of that whole relationship. I feel if you're having trouble on the day of the shoot, that's your own fault. I think pre-production, something went wrong in the pre-production, to be honest. So if there's people like not digging the vibe on the actual shoot day, it's probably your fault.
How do you fix that?
You can't. It's too late.
So you just recently had a conceptual workshop session with some photographers. When I go and look at Instagram, you can see certain photographers in South Africa just mimic overseas photographers. It all looks the same. There's nothing special, but your work is significantly different. How do you get students to start thinking in sort of your space, in your regard? How do you get that right?
I think it's pretty easy to analyze my work. It all comes down to the use of color and lighting. I'm obsessed with lighting. Lighting is everything for me. But if you can use those two tools in photography, and you understand how to get emotion out of your lighting as well as color, it's pretty easy. And I think like when it comes to students, that's something you can work on, and that's pretty much.
And how did it go? I mean, how many students attended your workshop? What was it all about?
It was there were 13 photographers, I think. It was really cool, man. Look, it's my first official workshop that I presented, so I was a bit nervous, and I'm not very great at public speaking, so it took me a while just to get into the thing. But as soon as I kind of chatted about things that really gets me excited, like lighting, everything just kind of flowed, and it was cool to actually see people getting hyped about lighting, and that's if that's the only thing they take from that workshop, then I think it was a big success, So just to inspire, and it's all about the love of photography.
Yeah, I mean, love of photography is one thing. Understanding lighting is completely different.
Exactly.
Having a pro setup certainly makes things a lot easier. How long did it take you to actually understand lighting, to get to grips with lighting?
I still don't understand lighting. I learn every day. I think it's a process. It changes every time. I've obviously got little tricks that I use that works for my images. For instance, I combine hard and soft light a lot, and I'll normally have harsh light on my subject, and the set will be filled with soft light. And there's little things like that, and that's how I get the emotion out of my images. So that works for me, but I mean it changes every second week. I do like watch a lot of tutorials on lighting. That keeps me inspired, and I play around a lot. I think the last image I shot was a 9 or 10 light setup. So that for me is. Most people kind of freak out a bit, and I've even had photographers that tell me that's completely overkill, but it's not if you know how to control light. If I would never use a flash if it's not there to serve a certain purpose.
It's interesting that you say that, because there's a lot of things to concentrate on on a shoot.
Yeah,
at a shoot, and to have 9 lights there, managing, that's a level of perfection.
Yeah, but it all comes down to pre-production again. Drawing light diagrams. I know exactly what I'm going to do on the day. Well, not exactly, more or less, but it might vary a little bit depending on my subject. Like certain models, you can't light from this angle. They don't look good. So it's little things like that I would change, but I have the basic idea of what I'm going to do.
So what you're saying is you plan a crap load.
Yes,
Plan and plan and
definitely.
plan
Yeah.
and plan.
I mean, the fact that you've now mentioned, and I went to your photo film workshop when you spoke at the Fuji stage, and over there we spoke a lot about what sort of tonal color spectrum you want to go into. That's planned beforehand. Now you're telling me you actually sketch lighting diagrams
Yes,
beforehand.
definitely. I actually did one last night.
Sheesh.
No, that you got to do those things.
But talking about the 9 lighting setup, I think that's his style.
Yeah, no,
to,
for sure.
to add more lights, and that's what
100%.
differentiates himself from any other photographer, because they don't know how to use 9 lights in a set.
Well, and it's a clear distinction. Very easy to spot Andre's images. And,
Thank you, guys.
Know how it looks like. What I wanted to know is, how does light behave differently on a medium format sensor compared to a full frame?
The sensor is just so sensitive to light. Actually, I had a little workshop at Open Window the other day, and it was in their studio. They had the house lights on, and I was shooting settings. Obviously, I wanted the students to still see what I'm doing with lighting, so we kept it on. And I was shooting, I think, 100 ISO F8 or something, and I was on 1/160th, and I was still picking up the fluorescent overheads, so it's that type of sensitivity to light. That's just incredible on a medium format. But for me, the main thing is the range, the dynamic range. You're sitting with 120 to 140 meg raw files, so you can just imagine what power that is in post.
Did you have to change your setup? Did you have to get a stronger machine?
I haven't, but I must. I'm struggling a bit at the moment.
Upgrade your storage.
Yeah,
at least.
but yeah.
Talk to us about your start of photography. I mean, clearly you were a guy in high school or even university. Something triggered you, and that's where you are today. Give us that sort of background, please.
It all happened in art class. I was 15 years old, and our art teacher gave us a option to either ETS or you can do a photography project for, I think, 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. I decided to steal my sister's camera. And it all started from there. I started photographing my friends skateboarding. I shot some portraits, and kind of from there I knew exactly what I want to do one day, and that's be a photographer. So after school there was no doubt. I just kind of studied photography and took it from there and never looked back.
So you formally studied photography?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what institution, if I ask?
Nothing to mention.
Okay. so for our listeners today, I'm a big advocate, and people are going to hate me, but I think that YouTube has so much information that if you literally spend 6 months and ask your parents to fund it for you, you could probably become quite an effective photographer. Is that a statement that you would concur or not?
No, I think I feel photographers, you need to live and breathe photography. If it's such a competitive industry, if you're not 100% committed, you'll never make it. You might be huge today or for the next 2 years, but if you're going to fall behind, it's over.
What do you mean fall behind?
Fall behind on lighting, on
trends.
Trends. Yeah.
Have you never gotten gatvol?
Gatvol of photography?
Yeah.
Never. No. I've gotten gatvol shooting certain things,
Yeah.
because it just gets a bit too much. It's very repetitive. But that was a couple of years ago, and I think that's the reason why I love conceptual photography so much, because I get to create my own world. It's not. I chatted to somebody the other day, and they were talking about capturing moments and all those things, but that's not really what I do, because I create my own world. Yes, there is still a bit of realness in my set, but it's not photojournalism, if you know what I mean. So it's completely up to me what I want to do.
Because you do speak to some corporate photographers, and a lot of them complain that it gets so boring after a while that they have to get their own projects up and running to really make something
Inspire.
nice and inspire them again.
Okay, so other than photography, what is your favorite thing to do? I mean, do you like hiking in the bush? Or
Oh, I love drinking beer. And I love skateboarding, man. Me and a couple of friends actually recently built a little mini ramp that's standing in his backyard. So that's kind of when I'm off, we go skateboarding, drink beer, chat music, all the lucky things in life.
Have you shot skateboarding with the GFX?
No, I haven't.
Not yet.
Oh, actually, I did. Sorry, man. Yeah, I did. About 3 weeks ago.
And?
I got to photograph Eben Kombrink, which is one of South Africa. He's an absolute legend, man. He stays in Belito at the moment. He's got his own, like, half-pipe mini ramp, all this like pump track, everything, and I got to work with him. He's such an incredible guy. Shot a cool like hand plant he did on a 7-foot. It was incredible.
So the notion of medium format not being used for action photography.
Yeah, that's not completely true.
Just need to know your gear.
Like one of the, well, I would say the world's best skateboarding photographer shoots medium format. It's a known fact, and he's been doing so for the last 10 years. You know, so it's all about your style. It comes down to what do you want to achieve out of it.
Do you still get inspiration from skateboard photography?
Yes, definitely, man. And I think our country's got insanely good skateboarding photographers. Tom Moelman, Werner Lambrecht, yes, I can name a few, man, and they all killing it. They're getting published in international magazines. Nobody really knows about these guys, you know, and it's actually sad, but they so rad.
So how does the skateboarding scene look like currently?
In Cape Town,
Yeah,
it's happening. I think Joburg at the moment struggling a bit. The scene's cool in Pretoria. Yeah, but it's kind of, we don't have any skate shops anymore. Like, I think the industry took a bit of a hit, but it is skateboarding. It's a for me. It's like a family, you know. So it will never die out.
Are longboards still a thing?
And longboard's never been a thing.
It's a thing in Cape Town.
In Cape Town.
Andre, where can we find you on the interweb and on social media?
You can check out my Instagram page, Andre Barnhorst, and on Facebook, Andre Barnhorst Photography.
And website?
Website, andrebarnhorst.com.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us in the Straight Out of Camera
Thank you
podcast
guys, man.
studio. We look forward to speaking and sharing your images with our listeners.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Yes, who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za